The morning sun of Centauri Prime cast long shadows across the academy grounds. 4 alien students walked together toward their military history class, their different forms moving in quiet conversation. Zektar's crystalline body caught the light and threw rainbow patterns on the ground. His clear, angular face showed the careful thinking that made his species famous throughout the galaxy. Beside him, Mora Lynn moved with the fluid grace of her aquatic people. Her blue-green skin still held droplets of water from her morning swim in the academy pools. The gills along her neck fluttered slightly as she breathed the dry air that felt strange compared to her ocean. Homeworld, Vexai scuttled along on 6 legs, her multiple arms carrying data tablets and note-taking devices. Her compound eyes could see in directions that other species found impossible. She was always the first to spot details that others missed. Kolben walked with the proud bearing of a warrior. His red skin seemed to glow with inner heat, and small flames danced along his shoulders. His people from the flame worlds were known for their fighting spirit and their hot tempers. These 4 had become close friends during their time at the Galactic Military Academy. They came from different worlds, different cultures, but they shared the same dream of becoming great military leaders. The Academy was the best place in the galaxy to learn about warfare, strategy, and the art of command. Professor Velthan was already waiting when they entered the classroom. The old Centaurian had taught military history for over 300 years. His gray skin was marked with the scars of ancient battles, and his 4 eyes could focus on different students at the same time. Today, we will discuss prohibited warfare. Tactics, Professor Velthan announced as the students took their seats. There are certain methods of combat that the Galactic Council has banned from use in all conflicts. The professor activated the holographic display at the front of the room. Images of various weapons and battle techniques appeared in the air. Chemical weapons, biological agents, planet-cracking devices, and mind control technology are all forbiddens, he explained. Zektar raised one of his crystalline hands. Professor, what about prohibited species? Are there any races that are banned from warfare? Professor Velthan's 4 eyes all turned to focus on the crystal being. For a moment, the old teacher seemed uncomfortable. Yes, there is one species that is permanently prohibited from participating in galactic conflicts. Which species? Mora Lynn asked, her voice carrying the musical tones of her water world. Humans, the professor said quietly. The species from the planet Earth has been banned from all galactic warfare for over 2 centuries. The 4 students looked at each other in surprise. They all knew humans. There were several human students at the academy, studying alongside them. The humans seemed friendly enough, though they were often quiet about their military history. Why are humans banned? Vexai asked, her multiple arms gesturing with curiosity. They seem like a normal species. They are not particularly large or strong compared to other races. Professor Velthan's expression grew serious. The records of their prohibition are classified at the highest levels. That is all I can tell you. But surely there must be some reason, Kolben said, small flames dancing along his arms as his curiosity grew. What could one species have done to warrant such extreme measures? The discussion is closed, Professor Velthan said firmly. We will move on to other topics. But the 4 students could not forget what they had learned. As they left the classroom, they walked in thoughtful silence. Finally, Zektar spoke. It makes no sense, he said. Humans are not the largest species in the galaxy. They are not the strongest or the fastest. They do not have natural weapons, like claws or poison. They cannot even survive in space without artificial protection. Maybe that is exactly why they are dangerous, Mora Lynn suggested. My people have a saying, the smallest fish can sink the largest ship if it knows where to bite. Vexai's compound eyes glittered with interest. There must be records somewhere. The Academy Library contains the largest collection of military history in the galaxy. But the professor said the records are classified, Colbin pointed out. Classified does not mean destroyed, Vexai replied. It means hidden, and I am very good at finding hidden things. That evening, the four friends met in secret. Vexai had spent the afternoon exploring the Academy's computer systems. Her technical skills were among the best in her class, and she had discovered something interesting. The main library has restricted sections, she explained. But there are older archives deep beneath the Academy. Physical storage areas that contain the most sensitive military records. Physical storage? Zektar asked. Why would they not use digital systems? Because digital systems can be hacked, Vexai said with a grin. Physical records can only be accessed by someone who is actually there. Then we need to go there, Colbin said, his warrior instincts stirring. If we want to know the truth about humans, we must find these records ourselves. It will be dangerous, Morlin warned. If we are caught breaking into restricted areas, we could be expelled from the Academy. Or worse, Zektar added. Accessing classified military records could be considered treason. The four friends looked at each other. They had spent years training to become military leaders. They understood the risks of their plan, but they also understood that knowledge was power and ignorance was dangerous. I say we do it, Colbin declared. A warrior who fears knowledge is no warrior at all. My people believe that the truth will always find a way to the surface, Morlin said. Perhaps it is time for this truth to be revealed. The logical course is to gather more information, Zektar agreed. We cannot make proper decisions without understanding all the facts. Vexai nodded. Then it is decided. Tomorrow night, we will discover why humans are prohibited from galactic warfare. As they made their plans, none of the four students realized that their simple curiosity would lead them to uncover one of the most terrifying secrets in galactic history. The truth about humans was far more dangerous than any of them could imagine. The Academy slept peacefully that night, unaware that four young aliens were about to learn why some knowledge was kept hidden in the deepest, darkest places where few dared to venture. The restricted archives lay 3 levels beneath the Academy's main library. Vexai led the way through the dark corridors, her multiple arms carrying the tools she had borrowed from the engineering department. Her compound eyes could see clearly. In the low light, guiding her friends through the maze of storage tunnels. The security systems are older here, she whispered as they moved deeper underground. Physical locks instead of digital barriers. Much easier to bypass if you know what you are doing. Colbin's flames provided additional light, casting dancing shadows on the walls. How do you know so much about breaking into secure areas? He asked quietly. My people are natural engineers, Vexai replied with a soft clicking sound that passed for laughter among her species. We learn to understand all kinds of systems, including security systems. They reached a heavy metal door marked with warning symbols in dozens of languages. Vishai examined the lock carefully and selected several tools from her collection. Within minutes, she had the door open. The archive room was vast, filled with rows of storage containers that stretched into the darkness. Each container was labeled with codes and dates. Morlin moved gracefully between the rows, her aquatic senses helping her navigate the space. Here, she called softly. This section contains records from 2 to 3 centuries ago. The 4 students gathered around a container marked with symbols they did not recognize. Zektar's crystalline structure allowed him to process and translate languages faster than most species. These symbols say Terra Incident, he said, and this marking means maximum classification. Vexai opened the container carefully. Inside were dozens of files, data crystals, and physical documents. The friends spread the materials across a nearby table and began to examine them. "Look at this," Morlin said, holding up a file marked with a red seal. "It says Project Endgame, Human Conflict Resolution Protocol. This document is signed by the Galactic Council itself." Colbin picked up a data crystal and activated it. A three-dimensional map appeared in the air, showing star systems and battle formations. "This appears to be a tactical analysis of something called the Great Sector War. I have heard of this." "Conflict," Zektar said, his clear voice carrying certainty. "It was a massive war between the Hegemony Alliance and the Free Worlds Coalition. The fighting lasted for decades and involved hundreds of star systems." Vexhai had found a thick folder filled with military reports. According to these documents, the war was at a stalemate. Neither side could gain a decisive advantage. Then something happened that changed everything. She opened the folder and read from the first document. "Official report. Coalition Command requests immediate review of human battalion performance during KEPLER 442B Liberation Operation. Unprecedented tactical results require immediate analysis." "What kind of results?" Morlin asked, leaning closer to read over Vexhai's shoulder. "It says here that humans had just joined the coalition," Vexhai continued. "They were a new species, recently discovered. They wanted to prove themselves as allies, so they volunteered to help with what should have been a simple operation." Colbin's flames grew brighter as his interest increased. What was the operation? "Liberation of a mining world called Kepler 442b, Zektar said, reading from another document. The planet was held by a small hegemony garrison. Intelligence reports suggested the defenders numbered fewer than 2,000 soldiers. The coalition sent a full assault force, Vexhai added. 15,000 troops, including a human battalion of 500 soldiers under the command of Colonel Jake Morrison. Morlin found a tactical assessment report. This document says the battle should have been over within 3 days. The coalition forces significantly outnumbered the defenders. It was supposed to be a routine operation. But something went wrong, Colbin observed, reading from a damage report. The primary assault failed. The main coalition force was repelled with heavy casualties. That left the human battalion cut off behind enemy lines. Zektar said, his analytical mind processing the information quickly. Standard military doctrine would require immediate retreat to avoid total loss of the unit. Vexhai had found another file, this one marked with severe damage warnings. "The humans did not retreat," she said, her voice filled with disbelief. "According to these reports, Colonel Morrison refused evacuation orders and chose to continue the mission. With only 500 soldiers against 2,000 defenders?" Morlin asked incredulously. "That is military suicide." "Not according to these battle reports," Colbin said, flames dancing excitedly along his arms. "Listen to this. Day 1. Human forces have established defensive positions despite overwhelming enemy numbers. Casualties minimal. Request immediate reinforcement denied due to enemy fire control of landing zones. Day 2. Zektar continued reading from another report. Human battalion has somehow seized control of the planet's main communications array. Enemy coordination appears disrupted. Multiple hegemony units reporting unusual psychological pressure. Day 3. Vexhai read. Impossible tactical situation developing. Human forces appear to be advancing despite numerical disadvantage. Request immediate strategic assessment from Coalition Command. The four friends looked at each other in amazement. The reports painted a picture that defied everything they had learned about military tactics and warfare. How could 500 soldiers defeat 2,000 defenders? Morlin asked. It should have been impossible. Maybe they had superior technology, Colbin suggested. Advanced weapons or equipment that gave them an advantage. Zektar had found an equipment inventory report. No, their weapons were standard. Coalition issue. Nothing special or advanced. They had the same rifles, armor, and vehicles as any other Coalition unit. Then how did they do it? Vexhai asked, her multiple arms gesturing in confusion. The answer came from an unexpected source. Hidden beneath the other documents was a personal report written by the Human Battalion's medical officer, Dr. Rex Hamilton. The report was marked urgent, for Coalition Command eyes only. I feel compelled to document the unusual behavior I have observed among our human soldiers, Moralin read aloud. These men and women are displaying capabilities that exceed normal battlefield performance parameters. Lieutenant Amy Parker's squad has been improvising weapons from mining equipment. Colbin continued. They have turned industrial machinery into artillery pieces. This level of battlefield adaptation is unprecedented in my experience. Sergeant Dan Cooper has organized what can only be described as psychological warfare. Zektar read. Enemy. Soldiers are surrendering without being fired upon. When questioned, they speak of nightmares and voices in the dark. Most disturbing of all, Vexhai concluded, is the behavior of Captain Lisa Brown's unit. These soldiers continue to fight effectively despite injuries that should have incapacitated them. They appear to feel no fear, no hesitation, no doubt. They adapt to every situation as if warfare itself is their natural state. The 4 students sat in stunned silence. The reports painted a picture of human soldiers who fought in ways that seemed impossible. They turned every disadvantage into an advantage, every setback into an opportunity. There is more, Moralin said softly, finding another file. This is a report from the hegemony survivors after the battle ended. She opened the file and began to read. The words inside would change everything the 4 friends thought they knew about warfare, about humans, and about the galaxy itself. As they read deeper into the archives, they began to understand that the Terra incident was not just a battle. It was the moment when the galaxy discovered that humans were something completely different from every other species. Something that would force the entire galactic community to reconsider the very nature of warfare itself. The hegemony survivor reports were written in a shaking hand, translated from the original hegemony military language. Moralin read the first document aloud, her musical voice carrying notes of disbelief. Personal account, Commander Thakelin, Hegemony 47th Defense Regiment. What I witnessed on Kepler 442b defies all military logic. The human soldiers did not fight like any species I have encountered in 40 years of warfare. Colbin leaned forward, his flames burning lower as he concentrated. What did they do that was so different? On the first day, we drove back the main coalition assault easily. Vexhai continued reading. Our defensive positions were strong, our numbers superior. When the human battalion was left isolated, we expected them to surrender or retreat. Instead, they did something no rational military force would attempt. They advanced, Zektar read from the next page. 500 soldiers moving against our prepared positions. But they did not attack directly. Lieutenant Amy Parker's squad disappeared into the mining complex. Within hours, the industrial equipment began targeting our positions. Industrial equipment? Moralin asked, confused. You mean they used mining tools as weapons? Massive drilling machines moved against our bunkers. Vexhai read. Ore processing plants began launching refined metal at our vehicles. They had somehow turned the entire mining operation into a weapon system. My engineers said it should have been impossible to reprogram the equipment so quickly. The 4 friends found more detailed reports about each human unit's actions. The picture that emerged was terrifying in its implications. Sergeant Dan Cooper's psychological operations were unlike anything in our military manuals, Colbin read. He used the planet's communication system to broadcast sounds into our defensive positions. Not threatening messages or propaganda, but sounds from their home world. Earth sounds. What kind of sounds? Zektar asked, his analytical mind trying to understand the tactic. Wolves howling in the night. The sound of hunting packs moving through forests. Ocean waves crashing against rocky shores. Storm winds howling across empty plains. My soldiers began to report nightmares about being hunted by invisible predators. The psychological effect was devastating. Moralin continued. Soldiers who had fought in dozens of battles began requesting transfer to other units. Several deserted their posts entirely. They said the sounds reminded them of ancient fears that all species carry deep in their genetic memory. Vexhai had found a medical report that made her compound eyes widen in shock. This document describes the physical capabilities of the human soldiers. Listen to this. Human soldiers continue combat operations despite wounds that would incapacitate most species. Private John Davis fought for 6 hours with a plasma burn that had destroyed 30% of his torso muscle tissue. Corporal Betty Walsh led a night assault mission 18 hours after suffering a concussion that should have left her unconscious. Colvin Reed. She showed no signs of the disorientation or nausea that normally accompanies such injuries. Most disturbing of all, Zektar continued, is their apparent inability to recognize hopeless situations, where other species would retreat or surrender when faced with overwhelming odds. Humans simply adapt their tactics and continue fighting. The reports painted a picture of soldiers who seemed to operate by completely different rules than the rest of the galaxy. But the most shocking discoveries were yet to come. Day 4. Impossible tactical situation confirmed. Moralin read from a Coalition command report. Human battalion has somehow seized control of 40% of hegemony defensive positions. They are using captured enemy equipment more effectively than the original operators. Day 5. Human forces have established supply lines using captured vehicles and equipment. They appear to be improving their tactical position faster than we can reinforce them. Day 6. Colonel Morrison reports ready to begin final assault. Human battalion strength now listed as 187 effectives. They have somehow recruited local civilian population to assist with logistics operations. Recruited civilians? Vexhai asked. How did they convince the local population to help them? The answer came from an interview with one of the planet's mining supervisors. The humans did not threaten us or force us to help, the supervisor had testified. They simply began fixing things. Our water purification system had been damaged in the fighting. They repaired it. Our food distribution network was disrupted. They organized new supply routes. They made our lives better while fighting a war. When they asked for help, we wanted to give it. They were not conquerors or liberators. They were ... problem solvers. They saw what needed to be done, and they did it, whether it was military or civilian. Colban's flames burned brighter as he read the final battle reports. The end of the battle was even more shocking than the beginning. When Coalition reinforcements finally arrived, they found that the human battalion had eliminated the entire hegemony garrison. 2,000 defenders, defeated by fewer than 200 humans, Zektar said, his logical mind struggling to process the information. How is such a thing possible? According to the final battle report, Vexhai said, the humans did not win through superior firepower or numbers. They won through what the military analysts called adaptive lethality. They turned every aspect of the battlefield into a weapon. Broken vehicles became explosive devices. Damaged buildings became sniper positions. Even the planet's weather patterns were somehow incorporated into their tactical planning. Moralin found a psychological evaluation that had been conducted after the battle. Dr. Rex Hamilton's final report to Coalition Command. The tactics employed by our human soldiers were not learned in military academies. They were instinctive responses based on their species' evolutionary background. Humans evolved as persistence predators. They hunted prey by following them until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. This hunting instinct has been refined over millions of years and applied to every challenge their species has faced. What we witnessed on Kepler 442b was not exceptional. Human performance. It was normal human behavior applied to a military situation. The terrifying implication is that every human possesses these capabilities to some degree. The 4 students sat in stunned silence. The reports revealed that the human soldiers had not used secret weapons or advanced technology. They had simply fought the way humans naturally fought, using abilities that their species had developed over millions of years of evolution. This explains why the coalition leadership became concerned, Zektar said quietly. If this was normal, human behavior, what could their species accomplish if they fully committed to warfare? There is more, Vexhai said, finding another file. This contains testimony from General Susan Lewis, the human military representative who was called before the Coalition High Command. As they began to read the general's testimony, the 4 friends realized that the Terra incident was not just about one battle. It was about the moment when the galaxy discovered that humans approached warfare from a completely different perspective than any other species, a perspective that would force the entire galactic community to make a choice between allowing humans to participate in warfare or finding another solution to what they were already calling the human problem. The testimony of General Susan Lewis was contained in a sealed file marked with the highest security classifications. As the 4 students read her words, they began to understand the full scope of what the Terra incident had revealed about humanity. Members of the Coalition High Command, Morlin read aloud, I appear before you today to address your concerns about human military capabilities. I want to be completely honest about what you witnessed on Kepler 442b. Colonel Morrison's battalion was not composed of our finest warriors. They were selected specifically for their restraint and diplomatic skills. We sent them because we believed they would represent humanity in the best possible light. Kolben's flames flickered as he processed this information. If those soldiers were chosen for their restraint, what would happen if humans sent their actual warriors into battle? The tactics you observed were not taught in our military academies. Vexhai continued reading. They were improvised, responses that drew upon instincts that every human possesses. Our soldiers did not consciously choose to fight in ways that violated galactic warfare conventions. They simply adapted to the situation, using methods that felt natural to them. Zektar had found a strategic analysis prepared by the Coalition's top military minds. This document contains their assessment of human military potential. The conclusions are disturbing. Strategic assessment. Human military capabilities, he read. Analysis of the Terra incident reveals that humans possess several advantages that could fundamentally alter the balance of galactic warfare. First, adaptability. Human soldiers can effectively use any equipment, whether it was designed for military use or not. They view every object as a potential weapon or tool. Second, persistence. Humans do not recognize defeat until they are physically unable to continue. They will fight effectively despite injuries, exhaustion, or impossible odds. Third, innovation. Humans constantly develop new tactics during combat. They learn from every engagement and apply that knowledge immediately. Fourth, psychological. Impact. Human warfare methods instinctively target the deepest fears of other species. They do not do this consciously, but their natural hunting behaviors trigger ancient predator-prey responses. Morlin found a medical report that made her gills flutter with concern. This document describes the physical differences between humans and other species. Humans possess several biological advantages that make them superior soldiers. Their bodies produce chemicals that allow them to function normally despite pain, fear, and exhaustion. Their healing capabilities are remarkable. Wounds that would permanently disable other species heal completely within weeks. They're immune. Systems can adapt to new diseases and toxins with frightening speed. Most concerning of all, humans appear to become more effective soldiers through combat experience. Where other species suffer psychological damage from warfare, humans seem to thrive on it. The four students exchanged worried glances. The reports painted a picture of a species that was naturally designed for warfare in ways that no other galactic civilization could match. Perhaps most disturbing, Colbin read from another document, is the human approach to warfare itself. Other species fight to achieve specific objectives. Humans fight to survive. This means they will continue fighting long after other species would consider the battle hopeless. Vex High had found a communication log from the days immediately following the Terra incident. Emergency session. Coalition High Command. Topic: Human military participation. Classification: Maximum security. Admiral Valterran. The human battalion's performance on Kepler 442b has created a significant strategic problem. If we allow humans to participate in future military operations, they will inevitably dominate the battlefield. General Morthic. The issue is not whether humans are too aggressive. The issue is whether they are too effective. They're natural. Abilities give them advantages that other species cannot match. Fleet Commander Zachlin. We must also consider the psychological impact on our own forces. Human methods of warfare are ... unsettling. Our soldiers report nightmares. After witnessing human combat tactics, Zektar found the most significant document of all. It was a report from the Coalition's Strategic Planning Committee, marked with symbols that indicated it had been sent to every member government. Strategic implications of human military participation, he read. The Coalition military leadership has completed its analysis of human capabilities. Our conclusions are unanimous. Humans do not simply wage war. They evolve through it. Every engagement makes them more effective. Every battle teaches them new techniques. Every conflict strengthens their capabilities. If we allow humans to participate in galactic warfare, they will not simply win individual battles. They will eventually surpass every other species in military effectiveness. The question before the Coalition is not whether humans are dangerous. The question is whether we can afford to have them as enemies, or whether we can control them. As allies, Moralin found the human response to these concerns. It was a letter from Dr. Rex Hamilton, the human military psychologist who had served with Morrison's battalion. To the Coalition High Command, she read, I understand your concerns about human military capabilities. I share many of them. But I believe you misunderstand the nature of human warfare. Humans do not fight because they enjoy violence. They fight because they must. Our entire evolutionary history has been shaped by the need to survive in a dangerous world. We developed these capabilities because without them, our species would have died out millions of years ago. What you witnessed on Kepler 442b was not human aggression. It was human adaptation. We saw a problem, and we solved it using every tool available to us. This is what humans do. This is what makes us human. But I must warn you about something that perhaps you have not considered. The soldiers you observed were fighting for a cause they believed in, alongside allies they trusted. They were fighting to protect and to liberate, not to conquer. If you make humans your enemies, you will discover capabilities that were not displayed on Kepler 442b. You will learn why. In all of human history, no military force has ever successfully conquered our species. The four students sat in heavy silence as they absorbed the implications of what they had read. The Terra incident had not been a simple military engagement. It had been a revelation that forced the galaxy to confront a fundamental question about the nature of warfare itself. The Coalition High Command recommends immediate consultation with the full Galactic Council. Vex High read from the final document in the file. The human question requires a solution that extends beyond military considerations. We are dealing with a species that could fundamentally alter the balance of power in the galaxy. As they prepared to examine the final set of documents, the four friends realized that they were about to learn how the galaxy had chosen to solve the human problem. The solution would reveal not just the fear that humans inspired, but the respect they had earned through their demonstration of capabilities that no other species could match. The last file in the archive contained the proceedings of the emergency session of the Galactic Council, where representatives from hundreds of worlds had gathered to decide humanity's fate. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been held in the Great Assembly Hall on Centauri Prime, the same planet where the four students now studied. The archived recordings of that historic meeting filled the final container in the alcove. Restricted Archives. Emergency Session 2847. The Human Question. Zektar read from the official proceedings. Council Chairman Velthan presiding. Representatives from 437 member worlds in attendance. That is the same Professor Velthan who teaches our military history class, Morlin realized. He was the council chairman during the Terra incident. No wonder he seemed uncomfortable when we asked about humans. The chair recognizes Commander Bill Stevens, representing the human government of Earth. Vex High read, Commander Stevens, your species has requested full membership in the Galactic Coalition. However, recent events have raised concerns about human military capabilities. Honorable Council members, Colbin continued, reading Commander Stevens' response. Humanity seeks only peaceful coexistence with our galactic neighbors. We have no desire to dominate or conquer. We simply want to contribute to the peace and prosperity of the galaxy. The Terra incident was a defensive action undertaken to assist our coalition allies. We regret any concerns our methods may have caused, but we acted only to protect innocent lives and to fulfill our obligations to our allies. The four students found the responses from other council members revealing. Representative after representative expressed the same concerns about human military effectiveness. The delegate from the Crystalline Reaches, Zektar read, Chairman, the issue is not human intentions. The issue is human capabilities. The Terra incident demonstrated that humans possess military advantages that could destabilize the current balance of power. The delegate from the aquatic worlds, Moralin continued, we have reviewed the battle reports from Kepler 442b. Human soldiers achieved impossible tactical results using methods that no other species could replicate. If humans participate in future conflicts, they will inevitably dominate the battlefield. The delegate from the Flame Worlds, Colbin read. As a warrior people, we understand and respect military prowess. But human warfare methods go beyond skill or courage. They represent a fundamental difference in how warfare is conducted. The Council's military advisors had prepared detailed analyses of human capabilities. Their conclusions were unanimous and terrifying. Strategic assessment. Human military participation, Vex High read. Military analysis indicates that human involvement in galactic warfare would result in one of three outcomes: human victory, human defeat followed by escalation, or fundamental changes in the nature of warfare itself. Establish humanity as the dominant military power in the galaxy. Human defeat would likely result in retaliation using capabilities not yet observed. Changes in warfare methodology would render current military doctrines obsolete. In all scenarios, human participation in galactic conflicts represents an unacceptable risk to galactic stability. But the most revealing documents were the private communications between council members during the session breaks. These showed that the real concern was not human aggression, but human effectiveness. Private communication. Admiral Valterran to General Morthic, Zektar Reed. We cannot allow humans to participate in galactic warfare, not because they are evil or aggressive, but because they are too good at it. Private communication. Fleet Commander Zakhalin to Defense Minister Poljan, Morlin continued. The Terra incident proves that humans approach warfare as a survival skill, not as a political tool. They will fight with everything they have, using methods that other species cannot match. Private communication. General Morthic to Admiral Valterran. Vexhai Reed. If we make humans our enemies, we will regret it. If we make them our allies, we will become dependent on them. The only safe option is to find a third path. The Council had debated for 3 days before reaching their decision. The final vote was recorded in detail, showing that the choice was not easy for any of the member worlds. Final Resolution 2847. The Terra Prohibition. Colden Reed. The Galactic Council hereby grants full membership to the human species, with all rights and privileges thereof. However, humanity shall be permanently prohibited from participating in any military conflicts beyond their home solar system. In exchange for this prohibition, all member worlds agree to the following terms. No military action shall be taken against human space. No species shall threaten or attack human worlds. No galactic conflict shall be extended to involve human territory. This prohibition is not a punishment, but a containment measure designed to preserve galactic stability. The Council recognizes that human military capabilities represent a fundamental shift in the nature of warfare that could destabilize the current balance of power. Commander Stevens had tried to object to the prohibition, but his arguments had been overruled by the mathematical reality of human effectiveness. Commander Stevens' final statement. Vexhai read, Honorable Council members, I protest this decision. Humanity has proven itself a loyal ally and asks only for the right to defend our friends and principles. We do not seek to dominate or conquer. However, if the Council believes this prohibition is necessary for galactic peace, humanity will accept it. We want to be part of the galactic community, not a threat to it. The Council's final decision had been based on a simple calculation that the 4 students found in the archived strategic assessments. Mathematical analysis. Human military participation. Zektar read. Computer modeling indicates that human involvement in galactic warfare would result in human dominance within 50 years, not through conquest, but through superior effectiveness. Humans would become the species that other worlds call upon to solve their military problems. Over time, this would make humanity the de facto military authority in the galaxy. This concentration of power would fundamentally alter the balance that has maintained galactic peace for centuries. The prohibition serves 2 purposes. It prevents human military dominance while protecting humanity from the resentment such dominance would inevitably create. Morlin found the most revealing document of all. It was a private memo from the Council's chief strategist, marked for the chairman's eyes only. Confidential analysis. The real human threat, she read. Chairman, the public records will show that humans were prohibited from galactic warfare due to their unconventional methods. This is true, but it is not the complete truth. The real threat is not how humans fight, but how they think about fighting. Every other species in the galaxy views warfare as a tool to achieve political objectives. Humans view warfare as a survival skill to be constantly improved. This means that humans will continue to develop their military capabilities even during peacetime. They will study every conflict, learn from every battle, and constantly refine their methods. If we allow them to participate in galactic warfare, they will not simply win battles. They will revolutionize the very concept of warfare itself. The prohibition is not meant to protect the galaxy from human aggression. It is meant to preserve the military balance that has kept the peace for over a millennium. The four students sat in stunned silence as they absorbed the full implications of what they had discovered. The prohibition was not a punishment for human brutality or aggression. It was a recognition that humans were so effective at warfare that their participation would fundamentally change the nature of galactic conflict. Addendum. Council Resolution 2847. Colbin read from the final document. The Terra Prohibition shall remain in effect indefinitely. Review of this decision shall only be considered if fundamental changes in galactic political structure make such review necessary. Human military capabilities represent a paradigm shift in warfare that the galaxy is not prepared to accommodate. Until such time as other species can develop comparable capabilities, or until alternative solutions to military conflict can be implemented, the prohibition must remain in place. The Council acknowledges that this decision may seem unfair to humanity. However, the mathematical reality is that human participation in galactic warfare would eventually lead to human dominance, whether they seek it or not. This outcome would be destabilizing for all species, including humanity itself. Found one last document that revealed the Council's deepest fear. It was a psychological analysis prepared by the galaxy's top xenobiologists. Final assessment. Human military psychology, she read. The most concerning aspect of human military behavior is not their effectiveness, but their improvement rate. Humans learn from every engagement and apply that knowledge immediately. Other species maintain consistent military capabilities over centuries. Humans constantly evolve their methods, adapting to new situations and developing new techniques. This means that human military effectiveness will continue to increase over time. If humans participate in galactic warfare, they will not simply dominate through current capabilities. They will continue to develop new capabilities that other species cannot match. Eventually, the gap between